Strickland. I'm the assistant principal at Getty's Middle School for 7th grade, and these young men have some questions for me.
So, Mr. Strickland, what is it called when you're born with one arm?
That's considered a birth defect. And anytime you're born, you might have, maybe you're born with a genetic disorder, you're born with a missing limb. It's just a general term of birth defect.
Do you use types of prosthetic arms?
I've used them in the past. I don't use them now. The ones I've got are fairly old, and I'll be honest, I've got 3, and I don't know where 2 of them are. The one that I do use is just the prosthetic hook. It was a lot better as far as usefulness for cosmetic purposes. Does it look like a hand? I had one called a myoelectric arm, and it had all the machinery on one end, and it basically operated like this. The glove on it looked like a real hand. The problem is all the weight was on the other end of the arm, so if I picked anything up, it tended to fall off. You can imagine in public, that's a showstopper. I'll use a hammer and a nail, but only with the hook. If I don't wear it, I'd have to use my stump to hold the nail, and then I'd hit myself. I also use it when I cook. If I need to saute something, you have to have another hand to do that. So it's got its uses, but as far as everyday use, I tend not to wear it.
So how has being born with one arm majorly affected your life or made things difficult for you?
Now, I can't answer that. I don't know. Since I was born this way, everything I've done only using one hand, that to me is normal. I would imagine if somebody had lost a limb, that it would be more difficult to make the transition if they had it and then lost it. But since this is all I've ever had, I don't know. It would be the same thing as saying that you have difficulty adjusting to 2 hands. I would probably have difficulty with that, only having one for 43 years. So it would be the same thing as you losing one later in life. So I can't really say one way or the other. What I can say is that for me, I probably had to do things differently than what you would have done it. But since it's the only way I've ever known things, I think it's made it easier for me. I've not had to adjust.
How has it also affected your public life?
I can't say it's really had much of an effect. A lot of folks will have questions initially when I meet them, and that's actually a good question. I'll have folks that may have questions, may not want to ask, and I think you have to really gauge it based on the personality of the person you're talking to. Some people would be offended if you ask them. Some people would not. I mean, it doesn't matter to me one way or the other. If you want to know, just ask. Other people aren't quite so open. They may have recently lost it. They may be very self-conscious, and you have to really gauge that based on who you're talking to. If you don't feel like you would be comfortable asking the question, they may not be comfortable answering. As far as I'm concerned, it doesn't matter simply because I would rather people know and ask, and then we can move past it. It's almost like the elephant in the corner. Until somebody says, there it is, sometimes people don't want to look at it. I kind of consider my disability along the same lines. Sometimes it can stand in the way until I finally say to someone, it's okay, you can ask, I don't mind. And once they ask, usually we can get past it. But I do want to point out, it's not an issue for me, maybe an issue for others. But, this, when it's who you are, what you've always been, I think that helps a lot.
So what would be your suggestion to engineers of what they could do to make prosthetics easier to use and make them more efficient in everyday life?
I can say that what I see on the Discovery Channel is pretty incredible with some of the recent advances. They're actually implanting computer chips. They're giving tactile and sensory feedback from the new prosthetic limbs. I would say that talk to people with disabilities, find out what they want. Especially people who had a limb and then lost it. They could probably give an engineer more feedback than I could. It would be the same thing as asking someone who's never seen a rainbow, say if they've been blind since birth, what would make a rainbow more attractive. It's kind of the same thing with me. I can't answer the question, but since I've never had to, I don't know. But I would say that asking someone who has recently lost a limb would be a great way of going about it. They would know what it's like to have one. What I would like from one, I would say something to give me a little more functionality. Having such a short stump, and as I was talking about earlier, the My Electric, unfortunately I have such a short stump, I have enough that I can pick things up or I can use it for utility purposes, but being so short, it might fall off. I would say if I was asking someone to develop one for me, I would say an arm that would be more balanced in terms of weight, one that would provide me some tactile feedback, because I would love that, some sensory feedback. Something that would be versatile, much like the prosthetic, the hook. I would love that if it could be that versatile and still give me some type of tactile sensation. That would be me.
That's all the questions I have for you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, gentlemen, for coming in.
Thank you.